Have you experienced the awesome power of the Panasonic Real 3DO system? Obviously.
Presenting 3DO, the most advanced home gaming system in the universe. It's time to put away your toys.
3DO from Panasonic, Gold Star, and Creative Labs. A new low price and free games.
Mind-blowing graphics of Panasonic Real 3DO. 3DO.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the 3DO Experience, the 3DO retrospective podcast, where we talk about the 3DO company, the console, and everything in between. Well, with the exception of this episode. We'll get into that later. I'm Bill, and this is Threk. How you doing, Threk?
I'm tired, Bill. How are you?
I'm also tired. It is still cold. It snowed over the weekend, and then rained, and then it all froze, and I had a layer of ice on my car.
I saw that video. And my first instinct was like, dude, brush the fucking snow off first. And you're like, it's all ice. I'm like, I see powdery snow there. Like your brush is just like, dude, even when it gets icy, what I always do is take that big ass brush and just brush what I can off. And then you do the hard scraping. Was your car on and defrosting too?
Uh-huh.
Okay.
It had been for like 10 minutes.
And now I know you drive an SUV.
That's actually a Ranger. Alex didn't push it back far enough to see the bed.
Oh. That shouldn't surprise me. You're a truck guy.
I mean, it's convenient. It's nice having one, especially for moving.
Yeah. It's just so many guys have trucks, and I'm like, what do you use that bed for? That bed is clean as a whistle. You never use that fucking thing. I get it. It's nice to have it because then you're the guy with the truck. So like everybody who kind of knows you is gonna need your help at some point. They're like, oh, you got a truck?
I mean, I've moved twice now, so it's come in handy.
Yeah, that's fair.
It's also good in the winter.
U-Haul.
Yeah, it's also good in the winter.
Yeah.
Yeah. What you guys did not see in that video though was there's a point where like the entire front of the car had just this giant sheet of ice on it, and I stuck the thing into it, and it just fell off the truck, and I was like, "Oh, that's gone."
Oh, that was good.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I think it was like Saturday night into Sunday here. They had predicted snow. But I saw the temps and I'm like, I don't think we're going to get any snow. And then I wake up and then I look out the window and it's just white. I'm like, what the fuck? And it's like, yeah, we only got like 2 or 3 inches. But we bought one of those like Snow Joe things, like an electric snow shovel type deal. So I got to test it. Not great in slushy stuff. It tends to jam pretty easily. But for the more kind of powdery snow, worked just fine. You just treat it like a shovel. It's the same kind of motion, but it just shoots the snow out. Yep. So it makes it a little easier. And I even went ahead and even in the same amount of time I would have done everything, I did more in the same amount of time, which was nice. So
yeah. Now for us, we had it started snowing Saturday night, and I looked out the window. I just saw it was like all white. I was like, all right, well, that's fun. That'll be fun in the morning. I wake up in the morning. And it's downpouring rain, but it's like slushy cold rain, and I'm just like, well, I'm not going anywhere today.
Thank God we had that. Thank goodness we had that 3-day weekend.
Oh yeah, because then on Monday morning when Alex filmed that video, we were going out for coffee, and I step outside and it had deep freezed, so all that running water was just frozen, so it was just straight up ice skating rink. And my street is kind of on a hill, so like my neighbor's trash can had just like got picked up in the wind, and it was like going down the street. I'm like, uh-oh. So I went and got it for her, because I was like, I'm not gonna have her.
Does your house have a garage?
So it's a condo duplex. Half of it's mine, half of it's my neighbor's. It's the main house, and then the front's got the garage. My car is in there, and then I have the truck out in the driveway.
So you have 2 fucking cars? Why didn't you just take the car that was in the garage? So you wouldn't have to do all that shit.
Well, I would have had to have anyways, because it was frozen and had to move. But also the car in the garage is a Mustang, and that's put away for the winter.
I never understand you people. I have 1 car, and I drive it when I need to go somewhere. And
that was my I graduated high school, had a job, and I was going to buy something stupid purchase, so I bought a Mustang.
My stupid purchase was a Sega Saturn, and I miss it to this day. It's the one who got away.
I mean, I've made those
because I was an idiot. I was like, oh, nobody's gonna want Power Slave on the Sega Saturn because I paid like $30 for it, and now it's like $400. And I'm like, son of a bitch. I mean, I've played the modern remaster of it, beat it, fantastic, but I missed that Saturn thing. God damn it! But the other day, I bought the Retrobit Model 2 Saturn controller,
nice.
the wired one, because it saved like $15. And this thing is nice. It's just as good as I remember the Sega Saturn controller feeling. Like it may be a little cheaper, but it feels like Sega.
I have the wireless one. It feels pretty much the same, but it does have that weird, like it's like a lighter plastic, but it somehow feels heavier for some reason.
Yeah, exactly. The only issue with it is it doesn't have any extra buttons outside of what it has. So there's no like select button or anything like that. So for certain older systems, it can be a bit of a pain, but again, just map it to a different button and you'll be fine. Like I was playing Little Samson on the NES with that controller, and I'm like, this feels fucking incredible. Like I was happy as could be.
It's one of the best D-pads ever made. So
yeah, it might be my favorite D-pad of all time. And playing it again like this, I'm like, yeah, I think it might be because it's the Genesis D-pad but better.
Yeah.
Just need a 3D controller version of this, and I will be set for life. I will play every game with the Saturn 3D controller.
In that weird like ball analog pad.
I love that thing to fucking death. I love it to death. And people look at me weird when I say I like it, and I'm like, fuck you, I don't care. It's good.
I mean,
you've never played it, damn it. I mean, I know you have, but
it's basically just a more comfortable Dreamcast controller. If that
in a lot of
sense.
ways, it's better than the Dreamcast controller. I think the Dreamcast controller is overhated, but the 3D controller is better because I think its weird analog pad thing is better. It has the 6-face buttons. It has the triggers, but they're not analog. But they have like the analog trigger thing, but I don't think they're actually analog.
If they're probably analog, but I doubt any game actually uses it.
Yeah, and it has that really nice rubber like start button. I love that thing.
And you can disconnect the wire for some reason.
Yeah, for whatever reason. Then it has that little switch for the D-pad and the stick, so you could like choose which one you want, which is a little annoying. I always tried to put it in the middle to see if I could get them both, but
no.
Oh well.
It's a cool controller. I really want to find a Japanese one because they're so pretty looking,
and they're much cheaper than the American ones. The American ones are really expensive now.
Yeah,
but everything Saturn's really expensive.
Yeah, I'm glad I got most of that shit when I did because holy fuck.
Yeah, I should have kept everything, but oh well. It emulates okay. That's all. Okay,
getting better than it was back in the day. That's for sure.
Oh god. Dude, you don't know how many hours I spent trying to get Medafin to work on my like Vista fucking PC. That thing Medafin still exists and it's actually still kind of good, but it's not very user friendly at all. And I mean, I got it to work and I played like half of a stall that way, but
that's a game I gotta find.
Yeah, I played it with like some shitty PS2 PC controller thingy. It was garbage. There's a million of them.
The good old days.
Yeah. Not now where we get like the authentic Saturn controllers. You can just plug them in your computer and they work. And it's like, this is beautiful. I'm so happy. I'm gonna play every 2D game with this fucking thing now. Everything.
Before you had one of those controllers and you had to figure out how the keyboard worked for these games.
I've done it. I beat, I think it was Mario 1 with WASD and then like J and K for A and B. I still remember. I don't recommend it, but you can do it.
In high school, I had a thumb drive that had ZSNES, Kega Fusion, and Project 64 saved on it with a shit ton of games. Yeah. And I would just like, anytime we went to computer lab, I would just be like, let's see how strong the firewall is today. And I was like, oh, it's not blocking these. Don't mind if I do.
I still like Kega Fusion. Like it still exists and I like it.
I still use it every now and then. It's a good functional emulator.
Though, to be fair, Pico Drive on RetroArch is better. Like everything runs buttery smooth. I've had no problems with any game running on it. So, again, it's like RetroArch for everything from probably like the Odyssey 1 to like PlayStation 1. No problems. Like you'll be just fine in there. It's everything after that where it gets a little hairy. But I mean, Dreamcast runs fine, but once you download Redream and put games in that, it runs so much better. And 4DO runs so much better. Like everything runs perfectly fine.
I still remember the first Dreamcast emulator I tried out. I forget what it was called. It was a piece of shit though. And I
think that's what it was called, the piece of shit.
Probably. But I remember I tried playing Sonic Adventure on it, and Sonic's eyes just didn't load. And I'm like, well, this is lovely. He just had black voids for eyes. I'm like, this is fucking Sonic EXE version, I guess. I don't know.
It wasn't Flycast, was it?
No, it had some weird name with dollar signs in it. It was weird. I'm
trying to see if I could find it.
I think it's still on this computer if I actually look hard enough.
Yeah, because there's websites that try to document the history of emulators, but
You ever messed around with Bleem?
No. Because PS1 emulation on Retro is perfectly fine. Old PSX, everything perfect, no problem.
There's no reason to use Bleem anymore, but it's still kind of fun to mess around with just because it's kind of cool that it was one of the first major emulators. Yeah.
And it's the Saturn cores in there are perfectly fine, but there really isn't a good alternative. You know what I mean? Or Jaguar. There's I forget what it's called. There's that really good Jaguar emulator that everything runs perfect. Hold on, let me find what it was called. Big PEMU. Big PEMU. Yeah. Because it was by a guy named Rich Whitehouse, who I believe was contracted by Digital Eclipse to do the Jaguar emulator for the Atari 50. And he wrote it for that. And then I think it was a few years later, he made it closed source and released it. So nice. You can go out there and play it. It's closed source though. You're not allowed to fuck with it. But to be fair, there really isn't much to fuck with. It runs perfect. It's just mapping games to it sucks.
and let's be real,
because of that awful controller. But other than that, it's pretty good.
I mean, overclocking Jaguar games is kind of pointless anyways, because it doesn't really help most of them anyways. But
I don't know if it overclocks them at all. I have no idea. But it touts full compatibility, fast, runs everything at full speed. It's the most accurate Jaguar emulator to date. It even says better than the hardware. It says, although the emulator defaults to settings which are catered towards compatibility and accuracy, it's capable of far more. Settings are exposed to over or underclock each of the cores, as well as to adjust the speed and accuracy. You can play lots of them at 60 FPS. So you can finally get all these games running properly.
Nice.
So, yeah, and you can play all the Jaguar CD games on it, too.
Oh, boy, we can play the fucking Highlander game.
About time.
That's the only game where...
To be fair, I think if you put that in there and then mess with the settings, you could probably get that game running perfectly. You probably could, and it would still be a terrible game.
Yeah.
At least it runs.
True. I had a Jaguar emulator back in the day that I think I put on the school computers as well. And I think all I would ever
play...
You
monster. You absolute monster.
Well, no, the only game I included was Tempest 2000. That's all you need.
Yeah, there's some other good stuff on there.
Well, there is, but... Theoretically, I could get those games on other things. Tempest 2000 is just kind of fun.
You can't get Alien versus Predator anywhere else. You can't get Attack of the Mutant Penguins anywhere else. You can't get Atari carts anywhere else.
True. At the time, though, I didn't really think of that. I was more just ooh, I'm playing Tempest 2000 in school library. I'm cool.
And I'm sure if you left it running, some people would have just thought it was a screensaver.
Yeah, a screensaver with the most bumping soundtrack ever.
Be like, this shit slaps. What the hell?
Came on
CD. Dude, 1994 was sick.
Oh, man.
It was sick.
I wasn't alive.
I was.
Oh, boy. But other than that...
Can't you all tell we're tired? We're just rambling about stupid bullshit.
We're rambling about emulators. Good times.
Emulators are fun. I like them.
They are. It's fun
they're a net positive. I don't want to go off on a too deep tangent, but I think game companies recognize how important they are to the history of it and how it's a net positive for the industry, because then these games are kept alive, even through, say, official emulation. How just about every major company has used emulation to re-release their old games and make them available, which I think is a good thing. You know, it's always weird when people get mad when they're like, they're just emulating the games. It's like, it's the easiest way to do it. And it makes the games available in official capacity. So we could just pay them like $10 and have it, which I'm perfectly fine with, you know? I mean, if you have the savvy to emulate it and do it for free, you're okay. I'm not your dad. Do what you fucking want.
The people that complain about companies emulating games are also the people that complained about the PS3 being too expensive. It's like,
yeah.
Well, the reason it was so expensive is because they had to stick a fucking PS2 in there to play PS2 games.
Yeah. And I get it. Like these days you can get just about any, you can just about play any game from like the 360 back on your computer for free. You probably, if you have a powerful enough PC, you can do it for free. But I don't know, maybe it's just my old school brain that likes to collect old shit. I'm just like, but there's something about, it's like, yes, I could just get Garfield Caught in the Act for the Game Gear running on my computer, no problem, right? But it's not the same as just having the boy in my hands.
Oh yeah, there's something fun. Like there's something fun about Atari Jaguar and those.
And these cartridges are weird.
Oh,
they're a pain in the ass to store. I've been finding out.
Oh yeah, I mean, they're not as weird as the fucking Lynx cartridges with the weird like.
Oh, like the curve.
Well,
they're
some
just,
of
like,
them are
flat things, and they have like the curve. Yeah.
Well, that's the fun part. Some of them are curved, some of them are just flat, and then some of them have weird tabs. It's like there's no consistency.
Lame.
And then Jaguar cartridges have like weird Chinese like handles.
I kind of like the handles. It gives
I
it
do
character.
too. I do
it gives
too,
them
but
character.
It makes them hard to stack.
Yeah. And I'll always love AVGN's little joke about it when he was like grabbing a Genesis game. He's like,
Yeah.
I just can't get a grip on it. Gotta have a handle. I always got a kick at it.
Yeah. It's like the least like.
I never thought of it when I first saw them. I didn't think they were a handle. I just thought it was like a design choice. They're just like, oh, this looks kind of weird. Yeah. I didn't think it was like we need a handle to grip the game.
Well, I
don't think I've ever touched a Jaguar cartridge in my life.
If we ever
because they're always hiding behind the plexiglass because they're like $300.
Yeah. If we ever meet in person, I'll let you use my Jaguar.
Is that code?
It's whatever you want.
Anyway, I guess before we get into our game today, news. Not really much anything. I mean, there was that PlayStation showcase, but I think we talked about it in the Super Show.
Yeah.
So just go listen there. It was whatever. Some cool games, but you know, it's a case of like what the hell is Sony doing? Like, are they now at a point where they're like, Xbox has given up, so we don't fucking care anymore either?
I don't think they've cared longer than since Microsoft has given up.
Yeah. So I don't know, but we're not going to get too deep into it. I'm sure will say something to me in the Discord.
My thoughts on the PlayStation thing were like, it was about on par to me with how I thought about the Xbox thing, where it's like, they were both good. I saw games I wanted to see, and I moved on.
At least the Xbox One, it was a bit more concise, and you knew what was going to be there for the most part. And they took their time showing off all the really fucking cool games there. And I liked, every game that they showed, I'm like, I'm going to play that. I want to play all of that. You know, whereas this PlayStation thing, there was a couple things, mostly the Sega stuff, but there's a couple other things that look neat. But
yeah,
again, it's just like, what about this like gets people excited, you know? Because if they keep this same idea and like kind of coasting mentality, when they do say the PS6, that thing's not going to fucking sell. Because like, what's the point? You know? And that's an issue Sony's going to have to deal with in a couple of years. When they get to that point where they're like, oh, it's PS6 time, and everyone's going to be like,
see,
you barely did anything with the PS5. What the fuck do you do with the PS6 now? And I don't think it'll sell.
It'll sell to a degree just because there are stubborn console gamers who won't give up.
Yeah, it's not going to sell as well as the 4 or the 5 is.
No,
like, I'm honestly shocked the PS5 has sold as well as it has, genuinely, because it's like all people complain about is that there's really no reason to have it, and yet people just buy it anyways. You know,
well, because
you just buy it just because it's the thing to buy, I guess.
That, in all honesty, it's just a better PS4.
Yeah. I mean, and I would say the same. The Series X is just a better Xbox One or even Xbox One X, you know? So it's like you just buy it because you're in the ecosystem and you want the hardware upgrade. And for that, sure, But
See, my thing is like, it's kind of just like the reason why I've bought consoles all my life. It's like I like a console. It's easy. You just put the game in and then you go.
yeah,
After you wait 3 hours for it to download onto the system, fucking Sony. I'm just saying. Um,
is that a Sony thing or is that your internet connection?
I mean, I have like it's like triple bar says the connection's great, and it still takes fucking 3 hours.
Well,
so
what's your up and down speed, or what's your download speed?
I'd
You
have
know?
to check. I don't know off the top of my head.
Well, you can Google it, and
I've done
then
it.
that'll probably tell you.
I've done it both wired and via Wi-Fi, and it's still slow either way. And
Okay.
I've heard from people it's slow no matter what. So,
Okay, because I pay for the 500 gig here, and my Xbox is hardwired in, and usually most games download real quick.
it's
Like
not
even a game like say Indiana Jones or Forza Horizon 5 that are like 100 plus gigs, they'll take maybe a half hour, but they're like 100 gigs, so it's like that's fine. And plus, back when I had like say like maybe like when my internet speed was trash, Forza Horizon 5 took like 3 days. I'll take a half hour. I can live with that.
It's not even downloading games that's really slow. That's actually not that bad. It's downloading them off of the fucking discs like that takes forever.
That's interesting.
Yeah, it's
Yes.
weird.
Again, with the series, whenever I put a disc in, it's not that big of an issue.
I just think Sony fucked up on the fucking disk drives or something this time around. But even the PS4 was kind of bad with that shit. Like,
Oh yeah, I remember the PS4 was really I remember the install times on that were dreadful. I
yeah,
hated it.
it's one of those things where it's like if I buy a new game, I'll fucking set it up before I'm gonna play, and then I'll go do some fucking chores or something, and then I'll come back and be like, okay, it's good.
That's partially why I played a lot of Sonic Mania on the PS4 because it didn't take long to download.
Yeah.
That was great. So
The only other
how many times have I bought that game? Like 3 times? I don't know.
I bought it 4 probably.
I'll say there was outside of the PlayStation stuff, there was one thing I saw, I think it was today, which I think is notable to say. And it was a man by the name of Tyshawn Jones, who I believe is a skater in the skating world, did an interview recently. And he said, he was on Breakfast Club. So if you're remotely black, you know what Breakfast Club is. Anyways, he said, and I quote, "I'm in a new Tony Hawk coming out. That's cool. They got a new one. They're remastering, so that's about to come out." So basically, he kind of dropped. I'm sure he's going to get a phone call from Activision that a new Tony Hawk game is coming out, and if it's a remaster, I assume it's going to be 3 and 4.
That'd be cool.
So I think he basically confirmed that it's coming. I mean, Tony Hawk did say last year that the series does have a future and that they were doing something. So
I love the fact that Tony Hawk, like after the abysmal failure of 5, he was like, "No, I'm doing this my own." He makes one game and it sucks, and he's like, "Okay, Activision, please come back."
what game was that? Was it
Some
the Shred
weird-
ones?
No, it was some weird mobile thing because the Shred and Ride were both Activision.
Yeah,
Um,
and those aren't as bad as people think, as people remember.
the games themselves are fine. It's just that stupid fucking board that didn't work half the time.
I think it was the original board was really bad, but the second one was a lot better.
The second one was better from what I heard, but people had already lost interest by that point.
Exactly, it was too little, too late.
Because I watched Matt McMuscle's video on it. He explained the company that made it was like some weird like ironing company. Like it was the weirdest choice.
Yeah, it was very weird because I just don't think they knew what to do at that point. But what can you do?
No, and it was also,
Yeah,
that was also
I've
the-
never heard of the Tony Hawk mobile game.
It was some weird game that he made independently. From
Skate
Activision.
Jam.
I think that might be it. And I heard it was
That's
shit.
that's the first thing that comes up. It's done by a company called Maple Media.
Yep,
A
that's
free
the
to play
one.
iOS game. It did not be published by Activision. Their publishing license expired in 2015. Oh, this came out in 2018.
Yeah, it was right after. It was sometime after 5 because Tony Hawk Pro Skater 5 is still one of the most fucking hilarious.
Oh God, that game was
Failures
awful.
ever.
So bad.
You can't even play it anymore. It's like it's a dead game.
Yeah,
Not
that's
that
for the
you-
best.
Not that you're missing much. If you really want to see it, just look up any compilation of the glitches. It's amazing.
Yeah, I mean, physical copies for it still exist because it
I
came
don't
out
think
on
you-
PS3 and 360.
I don't think you can play it though without I think it was one of those online only games.
Hmm.
Because I have a copy of the PS4 version, and I think you boot it up, and it just like, nope, nothing.
I mean, then I'd be curious to say the 360 or PS3 versions,
True.
which might be because they tend to put those games on the disc. So
True. Very true.
yeah, I remember when that came out. That was a disaster.
That was a fun thing. I remember when it got announced, and I was like, "Oh yeah, Pro Skater 5," and then they saw who was making it. It was like, "Oh, it's the company that made the Shred and Ride games and
Robomoto.
Robomoto." They're dead now.
Nobody misses them.
No.
Yeah, because then there. Oh yeah, Project 8 was okay.
That was like the last decent one.
I think when Project 8 came out, Skate was already out, and so people were kind of on Skate.
No, Project 8 was before that, because I think the last one that Neversoft worked on was American Wasteland.
Yeah, and American Wasteland. No, Neversoft worked on Project 8.
I think Project 8 was before American Wasteland.
No, American Wasteland was after. Or no, American Wasteland was before.
Oh,
so they did the two Undergrounds, then Wasteland, then Project 8. Because I remember Project 8 was the first like 360 PS3.
Maybe that's what it was. All I know is like the last one that they made was considered the last like decent one.
Yeah, because American Wasteland is on 360, but it was like one of those like launch titles where it's like they just took a PS2 game, put it in widescreen, and slightly upres the textures.
Yeah,
That kind of is like same with like Gun, which is made by the same company and the same engine. So yeah, but then yeah, Project 8 came out, and then I think by that point, the Skate series was already making it the rounds because that came out. I said 2007, and I remember those games blew up.
Oh yeah, the skate. That's what I was thinking. For some reason, I thought you meant Tony Hawk Red. Skate's a great game.
Yeah, I completely missed the boat on Skate because by the time it came out, 2007, I was playing a lot of Rainbow Six Vegas and Guitar Hero. So I never really got into the Tony Hawk games when they were like new. I did play quite a bit of American Wasteland on my GameCube, but other than that, I just kind of missed the boat on a lot of it. So when Skate came out, I was just like, I was busy playing other things. I was playing Rock Band, another EA game. So
Rock Band, Guitar Hero, that was an era.
Oh, those were good times. Those were good times.
Shaping the music tastes of many children across America.
Honestly, it shaped my tastes. And it's weird people don't really talk about that, but I won't be surprised if, say, in the next 5-10 years, you start hearing like people say like, oh yeah, Guitar Hero is why I listen to all this shit.
Oh, it's funny, like, because I was speaking of Tony Hawk. The reason I'm a fucking punk rock fan is because of fucking the Tony Hawk games.
I mean, why I'm a classic rock guy is because of Guitar Hero.
Yeah. I mean, it's funny how music does that. Actually, I should rephrase that. I'm a punk rock fan because I played Crazy Taxi, and then I played Tony Hawk.
That's like pop punk, though.
Bad Religion's more like melodic hardcore.
We're really gonna get into genres.
This
is a video game podcast, damn it.
Yeah. Speaking of that, speaking of music, we got some Nintendo music today.
Oh, we did.
Yeah, and it's very underwhelming. Let's see if you can figure out what it is.
Okay, hold on. Let me pull this fucking thing up. God, what's going on with my phone?
This was one where Nintendo added it, and I just went, really?
Let's see. Let's see if I can notice it. Oh my God, are you kidding me?
Yep.
No way. I thought I would miss it. Street Past Me Plaza.
You know what the worst part is? They finally gave us some goddamn 3DS.
Hey, you were bitching. You got your 3DS. Now shut up.
Like, I saw it and I was like, are you fucking kidding me, Nintendo?
No Planet Robobot. No Link Between Worlds. No
Fire Emblem
Metroid 2
Awakening.
remake. No Fire Emblem Awakening. Not even Hey Pikmin. You're getting this.
Yeah, it was just so
It would have been even funnier if it was Yoshi's New Island, which has like the worst soundtrack I've ever heard.
Yeah.
That would have been That would have been amazing.
See, I would have laughed.
I probably would have left. I would have laughed so hard and left.
I would have just went. If it was that, I would have been just like, well played, Nintendo, well played. This was more just like
That would have
off,
been a
like,
troll pick.
my thing with this is like, why weren't these? Because like when they put the me channel music, I was like, why weren't these just included from the start? Because you already have them. It's not like it was a big deal.
You can make that argument about every game.
I know. This app it infuriates me, but it's convenient having some of these songs on hand. So.
Yeah. It's still nice, but yeah, it's annoying. But again, it's like I use like Spotify, and Spotify is getting more and more video game soundtracks. So just throw that shit on there, please.
Nintendo
Sega Sound Team, the Balatro EP. God, the music is so fucking good.
All the Personas, all the Tales series.
Yeah. Oh, dude, Persona 4 Golden's soundtrack. We were talking about Persona 4 Golden before the show started. God damn, that soundtrack is so good.
It's annoying
because
there's two separate soundtracks for Golden to get the complete thing. There's the Golden soundtrack, and then there's the original. But
because there's Persona 4, which has all the major stuff, and then they added some stuff for Golden. Like I think the intro music is new. An extra battle theme, a couple of extra things.
Shadow World, the main theme is exclusive to Golden. The original theme was Pursuing My True Self.
I like that tune, and that intro is whatever, but like the Golden intro is so much better.
It fits the vibe of the game where it's just all fucking sunshine and rainbows.
Yeah, harmonica and hand claps, and it's not in any magazine, or I can't remember the words, but it's so good. So good, and it pops when you see it on like your OLED Vita or TV. It's just like I'm gonna go blind.
That opening intro is just like, this is why I love this game.
And then it has the bits of the parts of like, oh yeah, people are dying. By the way, there's still murder happening.
During one of the most upbeat parts of the song, it's like death. It's like
I
great.
love it. God, I love it. But yeah, news. That was really all I saw. It's pretty dry. A lot of the Marvel Rivals team got let go today. Like NetEase cut a bunch of people from Marvel Rivals, despite the game being a success and people playing it. It hasn't fallen off. Like people are loving the shit out of it, and yet they still cut people.
This industry kind of sucks right now.
I don't understand it. Even a big hit. And it was a big hit. I think you could safely say that. Like it kind of broke through that, like sort of, because it's hard to break into that competitive online multiplayer scene because a lot of the games and franchises are established, and it's hard to make a new game that like sits there with everything.
Oh yeah.
And Marvel Rivals feels like, I think it helps that Overwatch 2 kind of isn't great.
Yeah.
So like Marvel Rivals kind of stepped up to replace it, and it's been doing really well. And I'm just like completely floored. I'm like, really? You're still going to let people go even when the game's like a huge success? That would be like, say, Rockstar putting out GTA 6. I hope I'm not dooming them. Like this game, like it makes like $1 billion. It sells like millions and millions of copies. And then the next thing you hear from Rockstar is they're letting like 40% of their staff go. And it's like, but you had like the most successful launch in entertainment history again. What the hell are you doing?
I'm amazed they haven't, to be honest, because they literally have not released a game since Red Dead 2.
I think because everybody is trying to get this game out the door.
Well, I think because they combined like all their studios, like Rockstar North, Rockstar San Diego. They're all combined into just Rockstar Studios now.
It's all Rockstar now. Yep.
And
it's kind of like Ubisoft, where there is a bunch of different Ubisoft teams, but like it's all just Ubisoft.
Yeah.
I mean, Montreal's the only one that sticks out.
There's Montreal.
But they get assistance from every other studio, which is all over the world.
There's Montreal, which does pretty much everything, and then there's Montpellier, which is basically the original studio. That's why it's significant. Yeah,
they just keep them there for vibes,
pretty much.
For aesthetic, yeah.
Yeah, it sucks though. It's just how this industry is lately.
It's really bad, and I don't know if it's going to get any better. I really don't.
Wait and see.
But yeah. We're supposed to talk about video games, right?
Yeah, we're talking.
I mean, we have been, but like we're just rambling. Sorry, guys.
It's all right. Our 3DO experience for this episode isn't even a 3DO game.
It's the first in a potentially semi-recurring series called Spiritual Successors, where we look at games that are related to games on the 3DO for one reason or another. Maybe it's like a direct sequel on a different console, or a spiritual successor, or just something that it's related to the 3DO, but it may not be necessarily on the console. If that makes any
Yeah.
sense.
And this doesn't count like 3DO made games post console. Like those are their own
Yeah.
thing entirely. So like the Army Men games or Battle Tanks, those count as their own as 3DO games.
Yeah. Like a good example would be when we end up doing the other Gex games.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because we will cover the other two when that trilogy comes out. We kind of have to, you know.
Yeah.
So.
But yeah, the game that we're covering today is a game that we've been kind of talking about for a little bit now. It is a game called Road Redemption.
Who discovered this game? Was it you or me?
I believe you mentioned it, and then we both downloaded it shortly after, and then we've kind of just sat on it until recently.
Yeah, and we're like, we kind of need something to do. Let's just play this game, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was finally good to get the Band-Aid off for this one. I think it's because it's been a while since we've tackled Road Rash or that kind of stuff.
Road Rash was like, very notably, Road Rash was like one of the first games we covered that was like, this is a fucking amazing game.
Yeah, and we even talked about like the series, and the series is really cool. And there's even a Game Gear Road Rash that's pretty good, but I haven't grabbed it yet. But in any case, so yeah, Road Redemption. It's like, oh, somebody tried to make a spiritual successor to Road Rash, because I think we talked about how this series could exist nowadays. I was watching some YouTube video where they were like, you could kind of do like an online Road Rash, and it would probably be kind of sick. Like get like 16 racers and just have everybody beat the shit out of each other to try to finish first. Like that sounds really entertaining, and I'm surprised EA hasn't tried to do some kind of Road Rash revival. It's like an online component. It could work. I think it could like break through.
I honestly think it could too. It's weird because Road Rash has been a dead series for a while now. Like the last game that came out was like 2001, I want to say.
Yeah, was that like PS1 GBA one, right?
It was Road Rash Jailbreak. It was the second PS1 era Road Rash game.
Yeah, it was on PS1, and then it got ported to the Game Boy Advance. I played the Game Boy Advance version.
It's fine. I did actually play a bit of it before this review because I wanted to compare how it felt compared to Road Redemption. We'll get into that later.
I probably should have done that because I haven't played the PS1 version of this. So my most is like the 3DO version, and a few of the ones on Genesis as well. Road Rash 3 on Genesis is really fucking good.
I still looking for that game. I saw a copy of it at Retro World for $70, and I was kind of like, yeah.
I'll say the other day I was Game Gear hunting, and they had a copy of the Game Gear version of Road Rash for $20. I almost grabbed it, but I was like, I'll come back for that one. I don't think it's going anywhere. The good thing with Game Gear games is they don't move that much.
No, they don't.
I can be like, I'll come back in like 3 weeks. It'll still be here, and yeah, it'll still be there.
See, the best part too about Game Gear games is a lot of stores don't want to bother to actually check the prices on them, so you can find some gems in the fucking dollar bin sometimes.
Oh no, they price everything.
Oh, not the one not the store I go to.
Oh damn, I need to go to that one. But yeah, one of the stores, it's like the one that had Road Rash. The dude behind the counter said he had like 2 big bags full of them, but he's been meaning to like price them and set them out and everything. So hopefully he'll do that, because then I'll probably go, because I imagine if he has 2 full bags, I'm like, there's probably some really good shit in there. You know, I just don't know.
The last time I went Game Gear shopping, I went to this retro store and they didn't have any Game Gear games anywhere. So I asked the guy behind the counter if he had any, and he just goes, holy fuck, someone's actually asking for these. He's like, 1 second. He goes into the back room and just comes out with this giant bucket. And he's like, he puts it on the counter. He says, go crazy. And I'm just like, all right. And I found a bunch of shit in there. That was pretty good.
I would have grabbed everything. I've been like, how much for the bucket with everything?
There was a lot of games in there. Like it would have been way over my budget.
How many of them were Sonic 2?
A lot. There was a lot of Sonic 2 in that bucket.
You see it everywhere. It's crazy. Mm-hmm. But anyways, yeah. So yeah, Road Rash, a really good series, and yeah, it's a shame it kind of like petered out, because I think it was it was a thing of like the series never really caught on. Like it was never a huge hit. But people who had it really liked it.
What happened with Road Rash was Need for Speed became a thing, and that just completely overshadowed Road Rash.
I could see that, yeah. And then say by the time Burnout came out as well, it's like, yeah, this isn't coming back. Even though I think like when Twisted Metal was a thing, I'm like they could have maybe rebranded Road Rash into like something Twisted Metal-y, but
That's kind of the thing is I think there's actually a little bit of the story in the development of this game, but the I think one of the things that really hurt Road Rash was the whole vehicular combat genre itself kind of died off.
yeah, it really did. But Road Rash, it had like you could just also race. You know what I mean? So it wasn't like Twisted Metal where it's like you're just in like an arena and you just like beat the shit out of people. There still was like a racing component, and the combat just kind of gave it a little extra flair, which helped it stand out from everybody. And even nowadays, I think that would help stand it out a little bit.
So, looking into development for this game was made by an interesting team. It was made one of the dumbest company names ever. It was made by Redemption Road Games. Let's take the game's name and reverse it.
Hit it in reverse, Jack.
And also apparently Pixel Dash Studios helped as well.
I've never heard of either of these studios.
No, they don't have Wikipedia pages.
But the publisher does, and I kind of know them a bit. Tripwire Interactive, not related to Trip Hawkins. They were, let's see, they were owned by Saber for a while, but then I think when Saber separated from Embracer, they kind of just left Tripwire to Embracer.
Yeah.
And they're known for the Killing Floor games, and a game I have a bit of a soft spot for, Man-Eater.
I've heard of Man-Eater. I've never played it though.
It's the Shark or the Shark PG, I believe is what they call it.
I've seen this game.
Yeah, I quite like it actually. I beat it on Switch. It comes in and out of Game Pass, and I messed with it on Game Pass for a little bit, and it's a fun game. It's definitely inspired by say like the Jaws PS2 Xbox game. In fact, I think it's a lot of the same guys who worked on both.
I did not know what I was expecting. I clicked on Red Orchestra. I'm like, what is this? And I immediately see the hammer and sickle. And I go, oh, I don't know what I was expecting.
That's funny. And yeah, like Man-Eater, it's not a perfect game, but I do like it quite a bit. Damn, it sold 14 million copies. Holy shit. I kind of get why. It's a very accessible game. But yeah, y'all should play Man-Eater if you haven't. But anyways,
they're also a publisher of games too, because they published a whole bunch of stuff. That Road Redemption's the only game I'd really recognize here, to be honest.
I've heard of Chivalry. The Dwarfs.
Dwarfs.
Yeah, the Stone of Madness. That sounds like a book, not
the
a
ball.
fucking video game. The ball.
The ball.
Yeah. I love it.
Great stuff. Their actual development is more interesting than their publishing.
Yeah, and there's like a very small thing, you know. So, but anyways, so yeah, Road Redemption. It was released late 2017.
It's older than I thought.
Yeah, on PC, but it didn't hit consoles until 2018, and then it hit fucking phones in 2022.
Why not?
Yeah, which is weird because the game feels like a phone game.
It sure does.
It was going to have a Wii U version?
Everything was going to have a Wii U version back then.
In 2017. Late 2017, too.
You know, my favorite part, too, is... So I was reading, too. I was curious if any actual Road Rash devs worked on this game. Apparently not. This game was created by Paul Fish... Ian Fish, I think that's how that's pronounced.
Ian Fish.
Fish, yeah. And Jason Tate. And from what I read was the actual whole idea behind the development was apparently they wrote a blog post about how they really wanted a new Road Rash game, hoping that it would get EA's attention. And EA, of course,
that is such a terminally online thing to do. I love it.
And EA, of course, probably never even saw it.
No, I highly doubt it.
But their whole, from what I'm reading here, their apparent reasoning behind why they feel like it didn't go anywhere was because of the failures of games like Split Second and Blur, which were racing and combat hybrid games.
I don't know if I agree with that. I mean, I've played Split Second. It was a really cool game. I haven't played Blur. I've heard Blur's really good.
I've played Blur. Blur, I love. It was actually Bizarre Creations' final game, and before Activision killed them.
Yeah, Bizarre Creations was a cool. I thought Bloodstone was their last, the Bond game.
Right.
But yeah, Bizarre Creations was really cool. It's a shame
they made games that weren't racing games sometimes.
Well, they were known for Geometry Wars.
That's true. They were.
Yeah, Geometry Wars fucking slaps. But yeah, Bizarre Creations, another studio that it's a shame they died because I think they're a really interesting studio. But yeah, I've played Split Second. Split Second's really cool, but I think Split Second was more of a failure because it was published by Disney.
Yep.
And because it doesn't have Michael Mouse on it, like who the fuck cares, right? It was done by BlackRock, who made some pretty good shit. Like they also did like Pure for Disney, which is a pretty cool game.
I know why Blur failed, and that's because when they advertised Blur, they advertised it like they were advertising Project Gotham Racing, so everyone bought it thinking it was another one of those, and they were like, "What is this fucking shit? Fucking combat? Like this is what we wanted." Yeah,
like Gotham Racing's like a fucking sim.
Yeah,
Blur, from what I know, is very arcadey.
Oh, it is, and it was they advertised it all wrong from what I remember. What little they did because Activision, but.
Exactly. I believe that game's backwards compatible.
It's also
if not, it should be.
It's also incredibly cheap. So
it was one of the more pricier 360 games when I was looking at them.
Oh, really? I mean, I bought the PS3 versions. So
okay, for some reason, 360 version's a little pricey. Or at least last time I saw. Yeah, it goes for it's like $30, like $35, yeah. Which for 360 is pretty pricey.
I also bought it like 10 years ago, so that's probably might have something to do with it.
Yeah, but yeah, I guess those games, they're failing. They're like, oh, nobody wants like combat racers, and I'm like, but those games are very different from Road Rash. Split Second is more like you're doing these races for like Hollywood like stunt stuff, where you repeat a lot of the same tracks and you do a lot of the same races, but they want you to like you can do these really cool crashes and set up these kind of like movie stunt things to knock racers out or whatever. It's a really cool game. Very repetitive. If you're trying to beat it, it's very repetitive, but it is a fun game.
Yeah. And what's interesting too is like if they wanted to make like a compelling argument, they could have just mentioned like Twisted Metal 2011. Like that right there.
That game did all right.
They actually did better than Blur and Split Second, from what I believe.
Yeah,
but
it did have first party publishing backing it as well, and that's an established IP. And I think Road Rash being an established IP, it probably would have helped it a little bit.
Probably. I think the other thing though is like people just weren't really interested in motorcycle racers.
I think it's just racing games have lost a lot of their luster.
They're coming back a little bit,
little bit, but in like this era. It's like, unless you were Forza Horizon, nobody gave a shit.
Forza Horizon has helped bring back the more goofy racer.
Yeah.
I'd say.
Yeah. The Horizon games are so much fun. Y'all, if you haven't played the Horizons, please do yourself a favor and play them.
PlayStation owners, when it comes out on PS5, get it.
Hey, Horizon 5 is a great game. If you want to if you want to give Microsoft $70, that company you hate so much, to play Horizon on your PS5, go for it. It's a really fucking good game. It's better than the other Horizon you have.
I'm pretty sure most of the ones that are normal are going to be like, oh, cool, Horizon, and just buy it.
Yeah, it's, again, I don't really want to get to it. Horizon 5 is a good game. Y'all should play it. But anyways, so I get the whole, like, him trying to be like, oh, racers, whatever, but I don't know.
But, I mean, I'll give them credit. They did decide to do the whole, well, if no one else will make it, let's try to make it ourselves method, which...
I'll give them credit. They tried.
Yeah, they made a game. They made a game.
Well, apparently the game got kickstarted. So it was in, I think it was 2013. They did a Kickstarter. It exceeded its goal.
That makes sense because like that was like the prime Kickstarter era, which
2013, yeah.
Which is still really funny to me when I still think the most like one of the hugest games to come out of that era was Five Nights at Freddy's, and that game famously failed at Kickstarter.
Yeah, because nobody knew what it was. But to be fair, that game was dirt cheap to make anyways.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was really the era where it felt like everything was getting Kickstarted.
Well, that's when like the big developers were like being like, look, we're gonna announce our Kickstarter at E3.
And they were being like, oh, like people want all these old fucking games or these old series to come back. Well, we'll do it if you give us enough money. We'll do it.
Yeah.
And then that whole thing became an issue. And now it's like they don't really exist anymore. I'm sure games still get kickstarted, but not nearly as much. So I think that bubble burst pretty quickly.
Well, I think
and
the
I
big
think,
thing
well,
was,
and in that era, I think the industry was kind of struggling a little bit. Like it was kind of going down. So I think it was some of these companies kind of needed it, but now in like the mid 2020s or even the early 2020s, it's like all these companies have quite a bit of cash. So they're just like, and other companies like say Capcom and Sega are just saying like, yeah, fuck it, let's just do some old shit. Why not? We're doing great. Let's expand our portfolio a little bit. We can take some more risks now.
Yeah.
Like they're more calculated risks.
Well, because I remember
they don't feel so scared like Capcom. They're like, oh, we can only do like Monster Hunter and Street Fighter. We can't do anything else. Now Capcom's like, fuck it. Here's a new Onimusha. Fuck it. Play Onimusha 2. Fuck it. Okami 2. They're just doing whatever now.
Well, it's funny because like when I think of the Kickstarters from that era, like the one that I think ruined Kickstarter for everyone was Mighty Number 9.
Yeah, that one was bad. The Ouya was pretty bad too.
Well, those ones were more like they achieved their goal, but then people realized what they paid for wasn't exactly worth it.
I think people wanted the Ouya to be something more than it actually was.
Because when I read the thing, I'm always like, the Ouya is exactly what they said it was. People, I think, just realized it was stupid.
Controller's kind of crap.
The system itself was crap. Like the one time I played one, I was like, it's cheap as fuck, but I mean, that's expected.
Yeah, like you might as well just pull out your phone and play these games, basically.
What's sad though about the Mighty Number 9 thing is like out of all those games that were kickstarted then, with the exception of maybe Shenmue 3, because that game is kind of rough, but hey, even that's better than what Mighty Number 9 ended up being. The rest of the game,
I hope they port it, because I heard a while ago they were thinking of porting it to like Xbox and PC and Switch. I'm like, fucking do it.
That'd be nice.
Because then I will buy it. I will buy it and play it.
Because when I think of the other games that were kickstarted around that point, like we had like Bloodstained Ritual of the Night, which was a great game.
Yeah, there was that.
There was one of the Shantaes. I think it was Half Genie Hero. That was I mean, I know you said you weren't as big a fan of that one, but it's still a good game.
It's fine. It's just in my ranking of the series, it's kind of on the lower end.
True.
But it's a fine game. It's just my issues with it were that like Pirate's Curse was so fucking good. Yeah. And Half Genie is not that at all. It's kind of its own thing. And it kind of Seven Sirens tried to be a bit more Pirate's Curse. And both those games are like my favorites.
Yeah, but it was still a good game for what it was.
Oh yeah. There are far worse games to play than Shantae Half Genie Hero.
Oh yeah. But then Mighty Number 9 was infamously.
Oh, that was rough. Yeah.
It's better than nothing.
I mean, not only did it ruin the whole Kickstarter thing, it ruined Inafune's reputation.
Well, I still remember too, like the big thing too was when that got like kickstarted and he was working on it. He did that other Kickstarter for that Red Ash game.
I don't remember that.
It was the Mega Man Legends spiritual successor, and like it kind of failed, and then like it got like funded by some Chinese company, and then we never heard from it again.
Oh boy. That's not good.
It also looked nothing like Mega Man. Everyone was like, what the hell is this?
Like, at least Mighty Number 9 looks like Mega Man.
To the point where it almost feels like blatant. It kind of was.
I mean, he thought he could get away with it, and he didn't.
It doesn't help that Mega Man 11 came out shortly after and was just better.
Yeah. I'm not even the biggest fan of Mega Man 11, but yeah, it's so much better than Mighty Number 9. I mean, I don't think I've played a Mega Man game that's worse than Mighty Number 9. Like I hate Mega Man 7. I would play that 10 times in a row before I play Mighty Number 9 again.
I'm just contemplating whether I'd play it over X7.
I'd play X7. At least X7's more interesting.
It is, but it's not good.
No, it's not, but it's not a dumpster fire.
X6 is also pretty bad. It's those two. I'm like,
X6 is rough. X6 is really that one. I think X6 is worse than 7.
I'm like contemplating, like, would I play X6 over Mighty Number 9? I don't really know. That's the hard question.
Yeah, you'd always just play X8. X8's fine.
Well, X8 is underrated.
Yeah, but by that point, nobody gave a shit.
No, unfortunately not. But yeah, back to Road Redemption.
yeah, back to Road Redemption. Yeah, so it made its goal, but it was gonna do a stretch goal to have a fucking Oculus Rift version.
I'm
But it
so
didn't
glad.
make that. And I'm
that-
like, oh, I would have loved to have seen that.
So I have to ask, you played on 360?
I play on my Xbox.
I mean, X
Of
360, yeah.
course.
Xbox.
Let's see. Hold on. Paul Fish, a developer on the game, elaborated on reasons why the Kickstarter campaign did not, quote, take off in a piece for the Penny Arcade report. In it, he blamed the timing of the campaign launch and general crowdfunding fatigue, even though it made its goal.
I do agree with crowdfunding fatigue, but
Oh yeah. Like to the point now where it's, I'm sure if I go to Kickstarter, it's like there's probably not a lot there.
No, it's probably a bunch of indies things that might be big in the future, but we just don't know.
Yeah.
So you played on the Xbox. How were the load times on the Xbox? 'Cause I have to know.
Fine.
Okay, they're abysmal on the fucking Switch.
Well, it's the Switch, dude. I'm playing on an SSD. You're playing on what kind of memory does the Switch have? Was it like the ME or NME? Whatever. Where it's like it's not an SSD, like its memory is pretty bad.
I'm just like sitting here thinking, like, especially what it's loading. I'm like, how is it this slow?
I mean, I feel that way when I play like even something like Pikmin 4. You know?
Yeah.
And I'm like, Pikmin 4 is great, but those load times, I'm just like, man, I've become spoiled with my SSD Series X where everything loads like that.
Yeah.
I've become spoiled.
I'm curious how the physical loads, because this game did get a physical release on PS4 and Xbox.
I've seen physicals of it, but I've never grabbed one.
Yeah, I might if I see one now. Maybe. I don't know.
Let's see.
Yeah, other than that though, like once the game actually did load, it would play fine. Just for some reason, loading in the Switch version just was abysmal.
I'm surprised you didn't play it on your PlayStation.
I think it was on sale on Switch, and I grabbed it while it was on sale, and that's what
Yeah, I don't know what it normally goes for. Like $20 probably.
Something like that. I got it for like $5 because it was like on sale for like 60% off, and I was like, yeah, I'll do that now.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
I knew for a fact that this was going to be a one and doneer probably, and as much as I wanted to like it, so the game, it's definitely Road Rash, but it's
definitely a Kickstarter game.
It like the way I felt playing this game was, oh, it feels like Road Rash, and I'm like, it also feels like it's still in the 90s.
It kind of wishes it was in the 90s, to be fair. It feels like if you had a developer from like 1993 and you just put them in a time capsule and then put them into like 2017 and they're like, all right, make a new Road Rash. And I think this is how they would do it without having any of like the development like history coming with them from that time period, you know, because this game does not control very well. It does not look very well. It kind of plays like shit. And it has like roguelike elements, which I kind of despise. It doesn't really have a soundtrack, which is like that's the main thing that Road Rash.
Soundtrack is like early 2000s rock,
and it like generic shit. Like it's not even good. Because again, like the Road Rash, like the 3DO one we talked about, like the really like fucking Soundgarden and shit.
Fucking
and then like
Sledge Driver, man.
Sledge Driver, baby.
I will always bring up Sledge Driver.
And then hell, the Genesis versions, like their original compositions, but they're really good. And that like that Genesis twang really hits with that like fucking metal.
Even like the goofy 3DO like synth stuff that you can only unfortunately play on an FC1. Even that's fine for what it is.
Yeah, but like here it's just there really wasn't like the environments were bland as well because it's just all like that desolate desert. I don't know if it changes after a while.
There's one of the levels. So I did a bit of career and then I did some of the free play levels. One of them was snow, which was actually kind of entertaining.
Snow. Yeah. So like the career mode. So it's basically just like, oh, there's this like evil biker gang that's doing evil things and you need to stop them. And it's like, how? Occasionally you race them. Occasionally you beat them up. And then there are other times you just do a time trial, and it feels very random. And then you get money for doing these things that you can spend on slight upgrades or just to like heal your character. It feels very roguelike, like you do your run.
Yeah.
And then, you go into the shop and do your thing. It's Balatro, basically. It's the exact same thing. The only thing missing is the quality. So,
And the fun.
yeah, and the fun. And the music. Again, Balatro's music lives in my head rent free.
Balatro's just a better game.
Yeah, exactly. I haven't even beaten that game yet, but it's so fucking good. Anyways, and then, yeah, when you die, it's like, oh, you have XP. And it's like, I have experience points. And they're like, yeah, you can spend it to like upgrade your character for like your next run, essentially. But it's just like, the structure is just really bad.
I will
it's
say
really bad.
I tried to do an online race out of curiosity and I found nobody. So that's a great sign.
Oh yeah, there's not a chance anybody's playing this fucking thing. If it had crossplay, we should have.
I know, right?
There's no way it has crossplay.
So I will say I had more fun with the free play mode than I did with career mode. Unfortunately, you need to play career mode to unlock shit for fucking free play. So that already limited me to 3 tracks. But I will say the most fun I had with this game was I found the combat to be somewhat entertaining. Not so much for how it was designed, just for the spectacle of it. Because the way combat in this game works is it's like Road Rash, where like you just run up the car, other bikes, and you can punch them and kick them off, or use a metal pole, or I think a gun is an option too.
Yeah, in this game, you can just pull out like a Uzi and just like shoot the guy in front of you.
But like the reason I found it fun is there's so many bikes on the track, because it's one of the few things this game does do is it actually does download like up a bunch of other racers, so it doesn't feel so desolate. And
yeah, which is okay.
There is something satisfying about getting a perfectly timed like punch where you fling a guy right in front of an oncoming car and then he obliterates 4 other bikers. You just see them fly through the air, and then your little combo thing just pops up and it's like crash combo.
Yeah, the best part of the game is the ragdoll physics. The ragdoll physics are entertaining.
I wailed one dude in front of a cop, and the cop crashed into him and flew through the air, and I was like, ooh. Like, it's just like, ooh, that's gonna hurt.
But a lot of that stuff, it feels like that's not really what you're meant to do. It just kind of happens.
The problem was, like, I was always losing the races because I was having too much fun just beating the shit out of every biker in the back. To the point where sometimes I would crash repeatedly. So I played a lot of this because the NASCAR race was over the weekend and it was rain delay. And I had to kill like 3 hours, so I was just messing around with Road Redemption. And I just spent hours just smashing shit. I didn't get very far. I won like 1 race.
Yeah, I mean, I was trying to play the game legit, and it was just kind of whatever.
It loses its interest very fast.
Yeah, it really does, because it does not have any of the charm that really is what makes the previous Road Rash games so good. Like it doesn't have the really good music, the tight controls, the threat of the cops, because here the cops don't feel threatening at all. Because it's like because so many enemies will just conveniently come right up to you, and then you just mash the attack button and they go away. And it's like there's no challenge here when it comes to that stuff. The only ones that have any challenge are the ones when you have to actually knock them out. The most fun I had was when you get the bombs, and then there's like the big trucks, and you can like drive up right next to it and just chuck a bomb at it and it blows up. Like, that's cool. Like, there's definitely a couple things in here that I'm like, it's not terrible, but the whole game is not good though.
That's the thing. It's like the way I felt playing it was they made a road. They wanted, it was a group of people that wanted a new Road Rash. So they made the basic game, which was close enough. And then they added the things that they really wanted in a new Road Rash, but then they didn't really fully bake anything.
Yeah, and for the dozen people who wanted a new Road Rash, I'm sure they were happy.
Yeah, I'm sure. I mean, the thing about, so I played a bit of Road Rash Jailbreak just out of curiosity to see how they compared. And Road Rash Jailbreak is kind of like the most meh of the Road Rash games.
Yeah.
just because it was the final one, and it wasn't as good as Road Rash 3D or Road Rash 64, which were the other two.
They didn't
3D
care
ones.
by that point. They'd
Yeah, and
stopped caring.
I think Jailbreak was kind of made just because they already had the engine and they could just kind of slapdash it together.
Yeah, they're like, why not? We need a game for 2000.
Yeah, and I mean, even that has more content and more to do than Road Redemption did.
Even the GBA version.
Yeah, I mean, that probably is better than the console version, to be perfectly honest.
I haven't played the PlayStation version, so I can't say.
They probably were able to put more into it with the less. They could probably do more with less in like that game.
Yeah, I hope they put Road Rash 64 on the NSO so I can play it.
That'd be cool.
They put Ridge Racer on there, and Ridge Racer's fun.
Yeah, but other than that, though, I really didn't get super far in Road Redemption because it overstays its welcome very fast.
Like the races aren't really fast, and like everything just takes so long. And then when you die, it's just like I have to do all that shit again. Like it's not really fun to just keep playing the same things over and over again, you know?
It has that problem that a lot of these roguelike games have where it's like they have the whole roguelike idea, which is kind of cool, but then they like make it such a boring. Then you have to like do so much to get anywhere, and after you replay the first 3 levels so many times, you just lose interest.
Exactly. That's my big issue with roguelikes and roadlights or whatever the fuck is that they're just like really repetitive for all the wrong reasons. And it's really hard to get into them. Like I know people like Hades. I don't want to shit on Hades because it looks great and all that stuff, but it just wasn't really for me. I've played quite a bit of Risk of Rain 2, and that game is really good. That's also a roguelike, but that's like a multiplayer thing.
Yeah,
so
that game's
like
better with friends.
And it's really fun with friends. And then I mean I was talking about Balatro. Balatro is a roguelike and it is fucking fantastic. But also what helps is like doing a run of that game doesn't take very long. You know, and it's very quick to keep you in. Like even if you fail, it's just like new run, go again, baby. You know, it keeps you in the loop. So you don't get and it happens real quick, so you don't get sick of it. And Balatro does that thing that I think the best roguelikes do, and that is like each time you fail, you learn, you know, and then you can take that with you the next time, and you just kind of build up this knowledge so that, you know, eventually when you do it, it feels really good. And Balatro, the way that game is set up, is perfect for that style of gameplay. Even something like Inscription, which is kind of a rogue deck, deck building roguelike, kind of. It starts out as that, but it kind of goes a bit of a different direction. But that game also like does a good job of like making like you failing the run part of the experience. You know? Yeah. So I mean, if it wanted to be a genuine roguelike, and it like cut all the races down in half and made it like much quicker to advance through and give you that dopamine rush and keep it moving, it would be better for sure.
Yeah, because I will say once the thrill of just fucking bowling through people and launching people around dies, the racing isn't that great. The controls are like they're good enough to be passable, but they're not tight at all. Turning
sucks. I hate turning in this game because it has really bad understeer, but then you have to brake. And then when you do brake, you oversteer. Yep. And it's like, oh, fucking hell. So like if you fuck up a corner, if it's like a race, unless you have any nitrous, you're just fucked. Like you can't really recover. So
it's like playing one of those Sonic like 06 speed sections. It's just fucking
a little bit. Yeah. A little bit.
Just kind of nonsensical. That it's the rubber banding is really fucking obnoxious in this game.
Absolutely. You like, can't get comfortable at all.
It is hard to win races. And I won one just because the fucking guy in the lead crashed. I was like, all right. I'm taking it.
It's just, it's a weird game, man. I get what they were trying to do, but you can just tell the people making this game were not really savvy enough to make it work.
No.
Like a huge lack of polish. Like the UI and the menus look ugly. The control scheme is not the best. You know, there's just it felt like they did it because, as we said, nobody else would. So they said, "Fuck it, we'll do it."
It's funny that they did put this game on mobile phones because this game looks like a mobile phone game entirely.
Yeah. It probably plays better.
Probably. Well, I don't know about touch controls, but you never know.
Yeah. And let's see. After the game's release, they intended on making the game open source, allowing people to create mods for the game. I wonder if people actually do.
I wonder if anyone cared enough to play it.
I'd be curious to see. And then this sentence blew my mind. They teamed up with Yacht Club Games to bring their Shovel Knight character to the game as a playable character. Fucking Shovel Knight is in this game.
I never.
And neither did I. But I found a video of just some dude in like the Shovel Knight armor and the shovel, but it doesn't look like Shovel Knight. It looks like it would be in Road Redemption. And it's like, man, Yacht Club would do anything for $1, wouldn't they?
Yacht Club's like, money? Yes, please.
We can't put out a fucking Game Boy game, so we'll take your money. Where's Mina the Hollower, damn it?
So one thing I find very amusing, there's nothing really about sales figures for this game that I can find.
We know it sold 2 copies, you and me. That's all we know.
And those people that posted reviews online.
Yeah.
So
it was $40 in alpha. Fuck off, man.
Yeah, I know, right? For
Fuck
this.
off. Even 20's pushing it.
So pre-release, the game got somewhat praised. Like Polygon referred to it as a crazier, deeper Road Rash, which is really fucking funny in hindsight.
Compared to what?
I don't think Polygon played Road Rash.
They probably played 5 minutes of Road Rash 1.
Yeah.
And then this and was like, oh, this is so much better. And it's like, I don't know about that.
And Road Rash 1 is admittedly the most basic Road Rash, but even it's more interesting than this at points.
Yeah, Destructoid gave it a 9 out of 10. Like, what?
Yeah. According to Metacritic, though,
and Jim Sterling. Why do I know that name?
He's a reviewer. I mean, I think they might be a they.
Are they?
I think he might be a they. I mean,
yeah, one of those like, Jim Quisition. Yeah,
I believe they're not non-binary. So
yeah, of course they fucking love this game because they're very much contrarian. They're very contrarian. I've discovered, and literally they put their like blurb in the trailer. They're like, we need something.
According to Metacritic, the game has mixed to average reviews, which, yeah, pretty much.
What is its Metacritic score?
That's a good question. Wikipedia doesn't provide it.
Let me find out. It is a 70.
That's higher than I expected.
And its user score is a 7.0.
Is that good or bad?
It's the same yellow.
Oh, why? What? I typed in Road Redemption Metacritic and it led me to Red Dead Redemption 2. That makes sense. I was wondering why the reviews were so high.
That's amazing.
A lot of reviews.
It's weird. Yeah, and the Steam reviews are like really positive, and I'm like, I just don't see it, man.
So the latest reviews on Metacritic are like 60 and 65, and both of them are kind of mentioned that the game is kind of disappointing.
Yeah.
These are also these are critic reviews. These aren't even user reviews.
Critics reviewed this, but when did they review it? Later?
2019 and 18. Interesting.
That was when the console version came out. It was like late 2018.
Oh, this one person in 2024 gave it a 4.
Hell yeah. Apparently on the Steam page, if you scroll down to the About This Game, the first thing you see is them advertising their next game.
You know what my favorite part is?
Which is Kingsmakers, and it's just like a third-person shooter where it's like you're a knight with a machine gun and you're shooting dudes on horseback. And I'm like, that looks like stupid fun that I would get bored of real quick.
You know what my favorite part is? When you go to all platforms on Metacritic and scroll down, there's a Wii U section. It says TBD.
Yeah, they made a deal about it coming to Wii U, but it never happened.
Yeah, this is probably one of the most disappointing games I think we've played.
Yeah, I didn't care for it at all, and I
I
don't really get why anybody really would. You know?
it's I was just like kind of like, I really wanted another Road Rash, and this ain't it. This ain't it.
Yeah, it's not like it doesn't have what made Road Rash so good. Like it feels like it has a rudimentary knowledge of Road Rash and why people like it, but it doesn't have a deep understanding of what makes those games fun and replayable.
Yeah,
So
it
it just
feels
kind of it's basically it's the wish.com version of Road Rash, basically.
it's like it's literally feels like they made a basic Road Rash clone and then just stuck a bunch of shit they wanted into it, but didn't like flesh anything out.
Yeah, and there's really nothing about the game that stands out, really. So it just kind of ends up being a bit of a bore, a bit of a slog, unless you're a diehard Road Rash fan. Even then, I don't know if I'd recommend this one.
If it
I really don't.
loaded better, played a little quicker, played a little like tighter, and you had more shit off like right off the bat, it would be a fun little play a couple races to kill a few minutes like kind of game. But other than that,
It would be fine if they changed these like 15 things.
it'd be fine if it was a good game. Yes.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, man.
I mean,
disappointing. Absolutely. I was hoping it would be something a little bit more interesting.
Well, especially because when we first mentioned it way back in like the Road Rash episode, we were kind of like hyped to try it out, and then now it's like, damn, this was the journey. Yeah. This is where the journey ended.
We should just play the other Road Rash games at some point.
Honestly, yeah. I mean, I'd love to talk about like 3D and Jailbreak and 64, even the first three.
Yeah. So,
but must play. Okay, stay away. I'm going to say stay away unless you find it on sale. Maybe you might like it. Like,
if you're a complete Road Rash sicko, you'd probably love this thing. But if you're not that, stay away.
Don't pay full price. If you can get it on sale, like I did for $5, go for it.
Yeah, on Steam it's listed as 20, and I'm like, even that's a little pushing it. Yeah, if it goes on sale for like $3, it's like Battle in Wonderworld. Get it as cheap as you can.
Yeah, don't pay full price because it's just not. It's not worth it.
Yeah, one of these days I'll buy Balin, but I'm just waiting for it to be like $2, and then I'll go fuck it.
Yeah, $5 is too much.
$5 is pushing it.
But the question is, because it's been a bit since we played a actual 3DO game.
It has.
I was thinking, I don't know if you have it or not, but do you have Siberia?
I do not. I can emulate it.
Okay. Do you want to try Siberia?
Let's try Siberia. I don't even know what that is.
It's like a space shooter, and it's been a while since we did one of those.
Yeah, let's do it. Fuck it.
It's an interplay game. At least they published it, so that's why I'm curious.
So Boogerman's in there?
That would be fun, but I doubt it.
God, I wish. God, I'm like the only person who stands Boogerman these days.
It's got a cool box art. So that's kind of one of the reasons.
That always helps.
It's actually one of the first long boxes I got, and I'm not yet to play it, so I'm actually curious to give it a shot.
Yeah, let's do it. Fuck it.
Okay, so we'll do Siberia next. But yeah, that was unfortunately disappointing. But hey, you can't win them all. Ironically, the first non-3DO or even tangentially 3DO game is a bomb.
We'll have some good ones later. I know we will. There's some I'm thinking of. I'm like, oh, those are going to be good.
So better or worse than Way of the Warrior?
Fuck. Oh, God damn it. How dare you ask me these questions?
That's just kind of our barometer now.
That's weird because like I hated Way of the Warrior, but I can kind of respect the story behind it. This one I can't respect. It's a little bit more competently made, but I can't respect this one. You know what I mean? There's just something about it where I'm like, this is filthy. Like this is kind of gross. Yeah. Whereas Way of the Warrior is at least like fun. You know what I mean?
It has a better soundtrack.
It's that person. Yeah. It's like that person that like, you shouldn't hang out with, but you're going to have a good time. Whereas Road Redemption is that person that everybody's like, don't waste your time, man.
See,
don't waste your time.
Wayo the Warrior.
Unless you're a complete sicko.
Yeah. They're both the same person. They're both that one overachiever.
that filthy person like in high school when they're really cool.
Yeah.
And then when they're an adult and they're just kind of awful.
Well, actually, this is the way I think of it. They're both that same person in high school who's just kind of a shithead, and they're like really obnoxious. But then, like, Way of the Warrior is the one that like grew up to be successful, and then this is like the one that did not.
That's a good way to put it. Yeah, yeah, they got a job. Road Redemption is unemployed.
Yeah, it's the most. This game is the most they tried game I think I've played in a while. And I feel bad to dump on it, but I doubt the devs actually care that much.
I mean, recently I've played some far worse games than it, but I think they are more fascinating and entertaining than this was. Like, I played the Game Gear version of Terminator 2, the arcade game. Awful. Hated it. I would play it over this again.
That's fun. But
I mean, hey, that game you can grenade launcher Robert Pattinson.
Hell yeah.
So, no, Robert Patrick.
Oh, I was going to say
T-1000. Pattinson's the Twilight guy. I'm sorry.
Well, no, he's Batman.
Yeah, he's Batman. Yeah, no, Robert Patrick, who's the T-1000 in Terminator 2.
Robert Pattinson's a surprisingly good Batman. I never thought I'd say that.
He's a good actor. He's a really good actor. Have you ever seen Have you ever seen The Lighthouse?
Oh yeah, literally everything he's done outside of Twilight has been really good.
It's just basically him being like, no, I'm a good actor. I can actually do good shit. And it's like, yeah, he'll never escape the Twilight thing, but he is a good actor.
Yeah.
It's like Sean Connery. He will always be James Bond, but the work he did after is significant.
Well, what's funny about Sean Connery is he'll always be James Bond, but he's also forever going to be known as the guy that gave YTMND.
Like this.
Well, if you remember the old YTMND days of the internet, he was the guy that was kind of where that came from.
You're the man now, dog.
You're the man now, dog.
Yeah.
Or
their best. Losers whine about their best. Winners go home and fuck the prom queen.
I love the line, press the keys, for God's sake.
Press the keys.
that whole
the dog, Indiana.
I miss YTMND was a fun.
I just love Sean Connery. He's fucking awesome.
Well, Finding Forrester is a kind of good movie. It's weird.
I'll say Connery's been in his post Bond stuff. It's a lot of good shit. You know?
No, 100%.
Yeah, Connery's a fucking legend, man.
But yeah. Anyways, guys, once again, thank you for joining us on the 3DO Experience. The 3DO Experience can be found on all the major podcasting platforms, particularly Apple Podcast and Spotify. And be sure to check us out over on the Superpod Network, superpodnetwork.com. Awesome site. You can find all sorts of different podcasts, videos, blogs, all sorts of fun stuff, including all of the awesome shows. I'm actually not going to name them all because I feel like we've done this enough at this point.
You're tired. You're okay.
I don't think I need to say everyone at this point. The scroll's there. I mean, we could probably mention the newer people, like obviously like Tommy and Grant go podcasting, because we've established now that Tommy is the Brett Favre of podcasters.
and Grant agreed with us, which is great.
I think everyone kind of did.
We got his ass, yeah. So, but real quick, I'll do a little promo. This week on Thursday, which is the 20th, my episode with Dre about BioShock 2 will be out on the Fine Time feed.
Nice.
So look out for that. The BioShock 1 episode came out, and I didn't remember half of what we did, but I was like, that was good. So I'm looking forward to the BioShock 2 episode. So y'all should too. And the Infinite one's going to be really good, because there was some really good conversation about Infinite, because that's a game that has a lot to talk about. Unlike Road Redemption.
Yeah. And I'll say, if anyone hasn't checked it out, be sure to check out the Superpod Network Super Show, episode 2, on the Superpod Network YouTube channel. It is the most chaotic thing I think we've done with the network in a while.
Bill got drunk, and we talked about embarrassing stories, and occasionally talked about some video games as well.
And we talked about Tales of the Abyss for most of it, because 3 Tales of the Abyss psychos in there.
Yeah, and it was an interesting section of it. So yeah,
The best part was Jerry being like, "Okay, we've gotten away from Tales," and I immediately go right back into it.
wrote me back in. So
Good times.
yeah, so when Namco officially unveils the Tales of the Abyss remaster, I'm sure you're gonna get all the ats in the world. Like you, Chris, and Beth, like everyone's gonna at you and be like, "They did it! The bastards did it!" And you will probably be the happiest you've ever been in your life.
Hopefully. It could end up being a Symphonia porting job where they don't do anything and it's just
I don't think they'll do that. I mean, from what I hear, the Graces remaster was really good. The Vesperia
Graces
one was really
remaster was
good. I think the only reason the Symphonia one was bad was because it was based on the PS3 version, which wasn't great anyways.
Yeah, which is based off the PS2 version, which has more content but runs like shit. So
Exactly. So if they have to completely redo it, I mean, I don't think they would do based on the 3DS one. That'd be a bad idea.
actually, that runs better than the PS2 version, believe it or not.
Yeah, but I think people would be mad if they just took a 3DS game and ballooned it to full screen. I think people would be mad.
Honestly, they're pretty much identical, aside from the screen being a little tiny. Like the jaggies are really bad in the 3DS version. I will say though, all I want, just dub the skits. That's literally the only thing I really want.
You heard it here first, Bamco. Who's the producer of the Tales series? Some dude with a Japanese name. You heard him here. Okay.
Some guy who did not work on this game.
Probably not. He probably worked on Zillia 2.
No, Zillia 2 is the one that got the original guy fired.
Really?
No, not Zillia 2, Ziastera. Ziastera actually caused the guy that was heading the studio to resign.
Wow.
Yeah, that's a weird story, but we've rambled on enough. Anyways, guys, once again, thank you for joining us, and we will see you all later.
Bye-bye.
If you're not playing on a 3DO system, what are you playing with?